What's going on, everyone? Gilman with Wellthy Stocks, back with our weekly Apple update video, ticker symbol AAPL, where we take a look at how Apple stock traded this past week. We'll talk about key levels of support and resistance as well. We've got tons and tons of news to talk about in terms of what's going on with Apple, what's going on with some recent tax increases that have been proposed. So we got tons to talk about there as well. And then I also want to talk about the covered call, as you guys know, that got blown for me because of how well Apple did. So tons to talk about, jam-packed video. Make sure to hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and stay till the end so you don't miss anything. So yeah, we'll start off with kind of talking about Friday. I apologize, I didn't upload on Friday. I try to upload regularly, but sometimes life happens, so I hope you guys understand, and I really appreciate all your guys' support you've shown me. Really makes my day, makes my week, reading some of your comments. So we'll talk about Friday real quick. We'll talk about the news, we'll do technical analysis, we'll talk about the covered calls, and hopefully the outlook for the week. So let me go ahead, wasting no more time, and hit record. We will get right into the video. So really quickly, on Friday, we got another green day. As I talked about on Thursday, right, I was anticipating a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of that Friday fade that we were we've kind of gotten used to seeing with Apple stock, but we didn't get that. And we got a really nice push up, a continued push up, which was, great to see because I love Apple going up, but also kind of was hoping my covered call would, come down a little bit from my covered call. That's okay though. I've got enough of an investment in Apple that I'm still, coming out ahead if Apple goes up. So what we saw in the pre-market here was we did kind of see a little bit of a gap down, right? So we were above 130, we came below 130, and kind of started to come in the 129s. I thought, pretty typical, selling off to end the week, profit taking happening, totally cool, totally normal. We pushed up, we broke above our 130.24 level. Take a look here, right? We hit up against it, took a little breather. I'm gonna enlarge this so it's easier to see. There we go. So we hit up against it, took a breather, went up. Now, where do we go up to? 130, 145, our next level, came back down, bounced off VWAP, boom, we are into the 130, 145s after kind of spending some time there, and kind of immediately, right, we make a push towards the 132.52, which is our next level, again, to get stopped perfectly right there, guys. Took a little bit of a breather and broke through. So what I really like, take a look, right? Broke through a level, hit it, breather, broke it, hit it, breather, broke it. So we went through two levels, two new levels, three if you count the 130.24. Now we're making a push towards the mid 133s. So great week for Apple. Absolutely phenomenal, right? We went, kind of broke 130s. Not only did we take over the 89 EMA, but we took over all the EMAs and then some. So now, we'll talk about kind of the week outlook in just a little bit. There are a couple things that I quickly wanted to cover, so we'll do that. A couple of these I've kind of already mentioned, a couple I haven't mentioned. So the first thing that I want to mention is, we talked about earlier this week how some options traders are betting big on Apple, right? What does that mean? That means they're going out and buying calls, and tons of them. So if we take a look here, now a lot of this happened Monday, and Apple has gone up already since then. So a lot of these kind of options are very profitable already. So don't look at this and go, oh, I should buy Apple calls, right? Just an example of things that we can look at. Now, there's a lot of reasons why these big hedge funds buy calls and puts, right? Sometimes it's to hedge their plays. Who knows what they're thinking? But I really like whenever we get a big bullish bet on a company, because it means kind of all else aside, someone else is also thinking that Apple is going to go up, which is always great to see. So that's what we saw here, right, on 3/34 Monday, which again was the beginning of the week, and we've gone up already since then. This was a $500,000 bet for September 17th. So the key here is it wasn't like a this week bet, it was someone betting long term. Great to see. Another $2.27 million bullish bet for April 30th. That's a little bit more short term. We got another $800,000 bullish bet expiring April 30th and a $1.37 million April 30th. So you see 3 April 30th, actually 4 April 30th. So a lot of April 30th, right? 2.5 million, 1.37 million, 800. And 47,000 and 2.27 million. So, in the millions we're talking, but that's placed short term. So we'll see, how the rest of the from now until April 30 goes, but someone clearly put, at least 5 or 6 million, what it looks like, and then also $500,000 on the September 17th expiration. I like looking at this because, hey, what are other people thinking, right? What is big money thinking? What is big money doing? I obviously don't have millions to invest in the stock market, but it's always interesting to see what other people are doing. The other thing that we've also kind of covered is, we talked a lot about the services growth, and that, if you guys have seen me for a while, is key for Apple because it's really kind of what I think is going to take Apple to the next level. That and the Apple Car, of course. But the reason that that's really important is because services is a continuing revenue, right, that Apple doesn't really have to worry about selling people. Example, iCloud. Example, Apple Music. If you have Apple Music, there's a big kind of what's it called? It's not opportunity cost, but transferring over all your music to a different platform is a cost that not a lot of people are willing to kind of incur, right? It's a lot of kind of work to switch that, and if it's the same price, why would you switch it? iCloud, once you have all your pictures and text messages and app and all that data in iCloud, you're probably going to keep paying Apple every month. Apple Fitness, once they can lock people in, do that, right? So that's why services is pretty big. That was just 3 examples. They've got tons and tons of services, right? Apple TV and such. So that kind of upside recurring revenue, it's not something that happens in September and October of every year that they have to sell the customer on every year, like an iPhone or an iMac or MacBook or whatever, or an iPad, right? This is something that's recurring. So with that, we got this analyst saying, they're seeing more growth in that kind of sector than the overall market is. They reiterated their overweight buying. They did, however, lower their price target from 164 to 156, but that's okay. 156 is still a 23% upside, which is more than like a 12-13% upside for a company like Apple, right? Which the S&P typically averages like 8 to 10% a year. So you can get that while keeping your money safe in a stock like Apple. I'll take that any day. So overweight, price target 156, reiterating that buy. Now, one thing that I want to kind of cover on, actually, no, I'm going to cover this one first because this one is still like kind of positive, and then I want to kind of talk about 2 risks. You guys know we like the goods and the bads, right? So Apple Car, what's going on? We had the thing with Hyundai, we had the thing with Kia, we had the thing with someone else that they were going to produce with. Nothing really happened, right? And with Apple, what we have come to kind of understand is they're not going to come out and confirm anything until they have the darn product. So that's just, it's all going to be speculation till then. But what we do know, according to this article, is that after failing to strike a deal with Hyundai and Nissan to manufacture the car, Apple is currently now in talks with Magna, an auto parts supplier based in Canada that is building the Fisker Ocean. We also know that, it's going to be pretty technologically advanced, and, Apple is going to make sure that they can produce a product that is premium enough that people are willing to pay for it. So this article talks about, patent leaks that have happened. They talk about, kind of other things that they're thinking. It's actually a podcast done with the CEO, Tim Cook, where, they're talking about some things with EV. They're saying some stuff slipped. I don't think a lot of it is new, but they might be in talks with Magna, so that's great. It's going to be a futuristic vehicle design compared to a league of its own. So we're hoping we see that soon, right, as Apple shareholders. But who knows when that will be. I just wanted to kind of cover that. Don't think there's major updates there. Not that we were expecting them, but still some updates there. And then, so you guys know that this has been happening. So this happened late last week. Chip shortages, right? They've happened around the world. If you guys see my NIO update videos, you know that NIO, a car company, has also been hit with chip shortages. It's been kind of the story of, one of the stories of the pandemic is everyone kind of wants chips and we don't have enough chips. So semiconductors are booming for kind of, one of the reasons they're booming as well is because we have a chip shortage, right? So that has finally hit Mac and iPad production, right? If we don't have chips, we can't build the products. And the reason I want to cover that is not to say that this is going to be terrible for Apple in the long term, but this could lead to some adjustments in their earnings report, right? If they can't build them fast enough, they can't sell them fast enough, that ultimately will impact revenue. So that's what we're talking here, right? They've got delayed productions of some Macs and iPads due to chip shortages, while supply of certain components for iPhones remain tight. So like I said, right, it's for a lot of industry, including automobile, home appliances, and smartphones. If you take a look at, there was something else that I wanted to talk about, but I'll talk about that when we do technical analysis. But key thing here, chip shortages could hit Apple, could cause kind of a bottom line impact later down the line. Not saying it's going to happen now per se, but could happen down the line. And then one thing that I quickly wanted to cover is related to the Biden tax proposal. So you guys know tax hikes are probably going to happen sometime in the next couple of years. Now, in the previous administration, taxes had gone down. Now we're talking about taxes increasing, which typically means the companies become less profitable post taxes. I'm not going to say whether that's a good thing or bad thing. That's not my place to say. I'm not going to get political here, but I want to talk about it from kind of a purely stock market perspective. And that is that if capital gains or corporate rate were to go up from 21 to 28, obviously companies would have lower earnings post-tax, right? But the market is currently ignoring this possibility because the S&P has gained 4% since the plan was announced on March 31st. So the S&P is doing super well, making all-time highs. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. If we get more data around or we get more information about what these taxes are going to be, it could have an impact on the market. But, you know, so we haven't seen that impact yet because the S&P is still chugging along and doing pretty darn well this week. Whew, a lot of articles, a lot of news, and now let's talk about kind of the daily stock analysis on Apple, and we'll see what we see. One thing I want to point out right off the bat, you guys, is we are getting overbought. We are pretty darn quickly approaching the overbought levels. And one thing I want to talk about is take a look here, right? We can stay overbought for a little bit, but if we take a look at the past two times we've gone up to these levels, we've kind of come back down pretty hard, right? Pulled back pretty decently. We went from kind of the 138s to 126s, then 145s to 130, right? So take a look here. Every time we hit the 70s, you know, we do pull back. Which I want to remind you, pullbacks are healthy, normal, and needed for the stock market. If we take a look here for Apple, right, in the past kind of 5 days, we've gone from trading in the 123s to 133s. That's about a 8, 9, 10% increase for a $2 trillion company, right? A safe company like Apple. So it's absolutely crazy. Love seeing it, but I want to kind of be mindful right off the bat of a pullback potential this upcoming week. Doesn't have to happen, and if it doesn't happen, I'm the happiest camper in the world because I love Apple and I'd love for it to go to the roof. But if we're being realistic, we talk about, you know, 8, 9, 10% gain in a week. Someone who bought on Monday is already up decently. We talk about RSI at 66, approaching 70. Historically, last two times it's approached that level, we pull back a little, right? So things are pointing that we maybe see a little bit of a pullback this week. Now that pullback doesn't have to last, right? Maybe we go down to 130, people sell off, it gets attractive enough, we start buying, right? But I'm just kind of pointing out the fact that you know, the potential is there. Now let's talk about future levels of support, future levels of resistance. So clearly we ended the week at the 133s right here, and the next level we're pushing for is 133.45. And then we got 136.05. So we got two levels here to look up to on the upside, and a couple levels on the downside. So the first level we're looking at is the mid 132s, 132.52. Then we got 131.45, and then we've got $130.24. Now these are all levels that we went through on Friday, which was great to see. But I kind of, again, want to say, if we see pullbacks, right, we could go maybe to the 130 mark and see how it kind of acts there, or even 132.50s, 131.40s, and then 130.20s. See how it acts at each level, right? No one can tell you for sure what Apple's going to do this upcoming week, whether it's going to pull back, whether it's going to keep chugging along. But one thing we can tell you, as we've seen on Fridays, right, if you saw earlier this video, it will take a breather at those levels. It will either go up, hit that level, come down, go up, hit that level, come down, go right back up, or go up, hit that level, and then just tank. But typically it will stop most of the times at those levels. So it's really important to see that for that reason. Remember that we got the 8 EMA coming in at 127.36. All the EMAs were decently above now, which is great. Hopefully they start to become stacked again if Apple keeps doing well. So 8 above 21, above 34, above 55, above 89. And we kind of start to build those levels of support really well, as we've, kind of not been able to do that recently. And then the moving averages were finally above the 50-day moving average as well, you guys, in the 126s. And the 20 is starting to curl up again. So hopefully 20 will get above 50 soon, and we'll have those stacked as well. That's a bullish sign for the stock because it means it's going up over the long term. This weekly candle on Apple, right, if you take a look here, kind of shows you how much of a green we've had. And not to say anything, but whenever we have kind of a pretty green week, we tend to have a little bit of a red week after. I'm bullish on Apple. I continue to hold my shares. I played Apple a couple times this week with some short-term calls. I have that June call still going. It's actually really close to break even now, so I'm super excited about that. I was down 40% a few weeks ago for those of you guys that have watched my videos for a while. And then covered calls, I sold the 127 on Monday of this past week, and then Apple just became a monster. So what I did was I rolled to the 128s for this upcoming Friday. The reason being I was able to do that for pretty close to break even, moving my 127s to 128. But what that does is it gave me, I think I paid like 5 or 10 cents, which is $5 or $10. But it gave me another $1. So if my Apple shares get called away, they get called away at 128 times 100 instead of $127 times 100. So I got $100 by putting in like 5 or 10 bucks. So now I have a covered call of $28 or $128, excuse me, expiring this upcoming Friday that I'm probably going to have to roll because I don't know if Apple's going to go down below 128, but that's okay because my underlying shares will always go up more than my covered call goes down. I'll make a detailed video on covered calls here soon, hopefully today if I get the time, where I'll talk about that. But that's where I stand this week. Apple's been absolutely amazing, but again, RSI is getting a little overbought, so it would not surprise me if we see a little bit of a pullback. It doesn't have to tank, doesn't have to go all the way down. Could even take a breather, consolidate, maybe go down to 131, 130, and then start to push up, right? So it'll be really interesting to see. Remember that S&P is at all-time highs and doing super well, right? Really pushed up, a little down in the after hours still. Let's see how futures open up. Hopefully we start to look good and hopefully we start to push up. Remember that, a lot of the rally we've seen is around the QQQs. QQQs are actually also really darn close to all-time highs. If we take a look here, this is kind of a line we drew, right? And then we got there in 5 days. So that's great to see. Remember we drew this line and I was like, oh, I think we'll get there soon. And then we got there in 5 days. So I'm gonna get rid of this line. Just know that it was there, right? We kind of called it. Not the timing, of course, because no one knows that, but we knew it was going to happen. What I want to draw is a line here at 338. The reason being, that's the all-time high. And typically, if we're going to take out the all-time high, we're okay to see a little bit of resistance. So if we see that, again, if we see a pullback because it's at 66, just be ready for that, kind of to take action accordingly. And so you're not caught with surprises, right? So watch that level. If we just gap up and go, great, we've got new all-time high. But realistically, if we're approaching that level, we might struggle a little bit to break through. So bullish on Apple, but kind of expecting, anticipating, maybe even hoping a little bit for a pullback so we don't crash like we've done previously, right? Like we gone up and then we came right back down. I don't want that. I want a slow, steady climb up. So hopefully we see that this week. Long video than usual, but we had a lot to cover, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, comment down below what your thoughts on Apple are, and I'd love to chat with you guys down there. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.